Today on the Bar Business Podcast, discover the real reasons performance is slipping by listening to the people who see the causes behind your numbers. Learn the 15 to 20 minute Human Audit, 5 monthly questions that reveal friction, guest experience leaks, and culture threats. And master the ROI of prevention by stopping one turnover event and catching one vibe problem before they cost you your week's sales. Hello and welcome to the Bar Business Podcast, where we help bar owners increase profits, attract loyal guests, and simplify operations so you can avoid burnout and finally enjoy your life outside of your bar. I'm your host, Chris Schneider, the Bar Business Coach. The Bar Business Podcast is brought to you by QuickSpec. And full disclosure, I'm a co-founder. We built QuickSpec to give you back your time and help you work smarter, not harder. QuickSpec connects your POS data, layers in real-world context, and gives you actionable forecasts and KPI dashboards that allow you to make data-driven decisions so you can spend less time guessing and more time on what matters. Staff smarter, order better. Stop planning for rushes that never show up or getting caught off guard by the ones that do. When you make decisions based upon real data, not guesswork, you get your time back and your team runs smoothly. Check it out at quickspec.com. That's QUIXSPEC.com. And make sure to sign up for our early access program on the homepage. So today on the Bar Business Podcast, we're kind of continuing with what we've been talking about a lot recently, which is the human side of the numbers. And here's the thing, your dashboard is going to tell you what happened. It doesn't tell you why. Why comes from humans. So dashboards in a lot of ways are symptoms. The cause of those symptoms, more often than not in the bar industry, is going to be a conversation. And the human audit that we're going to talk about today is how we connect those two, the cause to the symptom. Now, we do need to do some groundwork in order to do this. You need to know your prime cost. You need to know your sales per labor hour, your ticket times. You should probably look at comps, your variance reports. You need to have a good idea of your numbers. But one thing to remember, and we've talked about this a lot, but all KPIs in a lot of ways are lagging indicators. They're not telling you about a problem you can solve in the future. They're telling you about where you existed yesterday. Now, if you combine those with forecasting, you can definitely get there. But in general, all your KPIs are going to show you what happened in the past, not what's happening in the future. And one of the things that we've discussed a lot the last month or so is that while you can look fine on paper, that doesn't mean much if your team's burnt out, if you have toxic leaders, if you have regulars leaving left and right. So we want to make sure that while we look fine on paper, we're taken care of. And to do that, we have to connect the data points, the what, with the why, the conversations, and then how is connecting those two together. And the great thing about this whole process is you really don't need software. You just need to have conversations with your team. You need to have conversations with your guests, and that's what we're breaking down today. So as I mentioned, your dashboard tells you what's happening, not why. Numbers do not lie, right? Let me say this out of the gate. Numbers do not lie. If your data is good, if it's true, good is kind of a judgment call, but if it's true, if it's actual factual data, it's not lying. But it is incomplete. And the reason why I say that is most KPI swings don't just have to do with the prices on your menu, don't just have to do with how you schedule your labor, don't just have to do with your inventory processes. All of those play into those numbers. But they also have to do with humans. For example, if you have slow service, it could be because your strongest bartender quit. If your labor climbs, maybe it's because you're overscheduling out of fear. If your revenue drops, maybe you have a vibe change and your regulars quietly stopped coming. So there are all these human factors that we need to consider when we're looking at our numbers. And your team sees these causes in real time. Your servers, your bartenders, your bar back, because they hear guest comments. They know what equipment is giving them problems, and they've experienced working for your manager or for you. If you only manage the dashboards, you end up just consistently treating symptoms. You do things like cut hours, push speed in training, change your menu, and treating symptoms, yeah, that's what you have to do. Think about if you have a cold and you have a runny nose, you treat the runny nose. But you also want to look for the root cause and fix that, and that normally lies in people. So here are the 5 questions that are going to reveal for you what KPIs cannot reveal for you. And to do these, I've always said you should have a monthly one-on-one with your team. So these are the questions I would ask during that monthly one-on-one. And it's important to remember when you're asking questions like this to your team, your job is not to judge. It's not to comment. It's not to do anything other than listen, ask clarifying questions, and write down the information. The less emotional you can be about what they tell you, the better. Because frankly, sometimes if they're telling you the truth, your feelings are going to get hurt. You're not going to like what they have to say. That's a good thing. That means they're calling you on your shit. That also means you now have to face your shit and deal with it. So, what are these 5 questions? First question is, what's one thing we do that makes your job harder than it needs to be? What is one thing we do that makes your job harder than it needs to be? Why do we ask this question? It's going to surface broken systems. It's going to reveal friction in prep, scheduling, policies, tools. It's going to help you produce quick wins because if I can solve what makes someone's job harder, I can hopefully fix that easily and then make their job easier. And it's a huge signal that you, as the owner, actually give a shit about your team. The second question I want you to ask, is there a regular who seems unhappy lately? What do you think is going on? Now, this is going to help you spot guest leaks. It's going to identify patterns before they become trends. Now, it's very possible that your server, your bartender says, yeah, Jim's been really sad because his wife died last week. Okay, maybe we can't solve that problem. But if we know that there's something that's making our guests unhappy, we want to address that. And maybe for Jim, like we talked about last week, we need to be a little bit unreasonable, buy him a card. Question 3, I want you to ask, if you could change one thing about working here, what would it be? This is going to surface retention drivers. It's going to show you what matters to your team. And normally, they're going to come up with some really low-cost ideas that can give you high impact. The whole purpose of this question, if you could change one thing about working here, what would it be, is to improve team satisfaction and, quite frankly, retention. Because we all know replacing someone is a lot more expensive than making someone happy. The fourth question I want you to ask, have you seen anyone struggling lately? What support do they need? This is also to spot turnover risk. It's going to find training gaps. It's going to let you know, okay, is it someone that we need to train more? Or are my barbacks, is their job not what it should be? It's going to give you insights into not just that team member, but the other team members through that team member's eyes. And the fifth question I want you to ask, what's one thing I do that makes your job better and one thing I do that makes it worse? This forces leadership clarity. It reveals your own blind spots. And this is the part that's going to be emotional and painful for you, probably more than any other part, because you're literally asking your team, how did I screw up and make your life hard this week? Now, hopefully you're an empathetic person. You listen to them, you understand them, and that actually makes you better. It helps with your own mindset. It helps you drive your business forward. But it's really easy to get emotional here, and it's really important that in order to get honest feedback and answers on these, you're not giving people excuses. You're not giving them a list of some marketing BS aimed towards your team, but you're actually listening. You actually care. Now, here's the big thing with all this, and this is why it's really important you don't get too emotional. Psychological safety is the multiplier. If your team does not trust you, they will tell you everything's fine, there are no complaints, everything's good. So here are 5 rules to make sure that you keep your team honest with you as you ask them these questions. Never punish honesty. Never punish honesty. Don't get emotional. Don't react negatively. Acknowledge what they said and move on. Second rule, act fast. When someone tells you there's a problem, if you want to prove to them that you listen and react as a boss and as an owner, then you need to actually do what the heck they told you to do quickly, as long as it makes sense and it's not going to hurt the business. A lot of times, if you have these conversations, you'll come up with a bunch of stuff that takes a half hour and $20, and you can fix something. Sometimes it's as easy as putting out a memo and saying, yeah, you can do this, or no, don't do this, or do this way. But act quickly on the feedback. Close the loop. If you're having monthly one-on-ones, the next month, you say to your employee, you said you were having an issue with X. Because you said you had this issue and we talked about it, we changed Y. How did that help you or not help you? We changed X, or you mentioned X, we changed Y. How did that help or not help? Is the situation resolved? Is it better? Is this still something we need to worry about? Rule 4, make this routine every month, every employee do a one-on-one. Now, I've said before, if you have a giant operation, maybe you're doing a one-on-one with departmental managers are doing one-on-ones with their teams. But really, as an owner, I would encourage you to do at least one one-on-one every single quarter with every single person that works for you. And the 5th rule, when you're doing this process, start with the positive. Make space for wins and for them to tell you what they don't like. And keep a positive mindset in your head. Start positively. If you are not positive entering this, you will be negative. You will say things that make your team shut down, and you will not get the feedback that you want. And guess what? Once you've established that as your baseline, you're never going to get it. So to wrap us up for today, your dashboard shows symptoms, not causes. Ask these 5 questions that we went over monthly in a one-on-one with your team and follow the 5 rules we just laid out to make sure that's a productive conversation. Ask questions, listen without defending, fix one thing quickly, then close the loop. And I promise you, if you start doing that this month, you will see employees turnover go down, you'll see employee satisfaction go up, and most importantly, you'll see guest satisfaction go up. And when your employees are happier and your guests are happier, guess what happens to you? You're happier because you get to put more profit in your pocket. That about wraps it up for today. If you enjoyed today's insights, make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a review. If you are ready to take your bar to the next level, schedule a strategy session with me by clicking the link in the show notes below. Until next time, have a great day, and we will talk again later.